in margin. That's what we're talking about. Last week we talked about margin, and we kind of just did an overview of the series. We're going to spend 4 weeks total. This week we're going to talk about scheduling margin. You've got to build the time into your schedule. Then we're going to talk next week about money. And I know it's like, well, no, next week's off. Not coming. But we've got to have some financial margin. We're so stressed financially, and we don't know how to make ends meet because it doesn't look like there's enough money to make them meet. And so we're going to talk about how to actually schedule some margin financially in there. And then the week, December 18th, we're going to finish this series with moral margin and building in margin in our decision making. And the reason we spent really 2 weeks basically on time is because when our time gets so crazy and so stressed that we get overwhelmed, that's when we begin to lapse morally. We begin to make rush decisions financially, and then we don't have any money for margin. And then we begin to justify, well, I had to do that because of this. I'm just so overwhelmed, I needed an escape. I just needed to get free. I just needed, whatever that excuse is, it gets worse and it gets easier to do it the more stressed that we become. With that said, this week is scheduling the most important things first. And really the heading on the graphic this week was from burnout to balance. How many of you are stressed? Anybody just like, you're abnormally stressed? Like all of us have stress, good or bad. There's good stress out there, and some of you are like, I don't believe that. The good stress doesn't exist. I've never met it. But there are positive stressors out there. Then there's so much negative stress, and then you get the holidays added on to that where you've got just like family stuff because like you just finished Thanksgiving and now you've got guilt from all the food and you don't have time built into exercise, so you're just going to try and wing it through Christmas, and that's where New Year's resolutions are so popular because it's like my New Year's resolution is no longer to lose weight and be healthy for the year, it's just to get back to where I was the day before Thanksgiving. That's just like my new thing. I'm just going to keep going there. But we're so stressed. We need more. Let's do a little interactive stuff here. How many of you would like to have more time for yourself? And don't feel selfish. You would just like to have more time for yourself. And if that means 10 minutes on a couch with no sound, that would just like some of you are praying like, can I pray for that? Like just 10 minutes. That would be awesome. And I'm like, yes, you can you should make it happen, 10 minutes. Maybe for some of you, the only way it's going to happen is if you wake up 10 minutes earlier, at which point you went, well, I'm out. I can't 10 minutes earlier. That time doesn't exist. And so you're gonna continue to struggle there. We want more time for ourselves. Anybody want more time with your family? More time with friends? More time with God? It's like as we talked about last week, how you intend to go back to church and you intend to go back to church and you just never really get back to church. And it's like, I know, man, we start off with like these good ideas like, man, we're going to read through the Bible this year. And then you get through January and you're like, all right, man, I made it through like Genesis 3. Like, yeah, I'm that far. And then it's like, okay, forget that. I'm going to read through Genesis this year. And by October, you're just like, I'm going to YouTube Genesis. And I'm going to watch somebody else read it. Because you want it, we need that. We need to build in that kind of time. We need those kind of things. And we all have those desires. And I wish there was like a magic button, right? And I could add 2 hours to the day. And how many would be like, yeah, 2 hours. That'd be 26 hours in a day. I could get some stuff done. And I know, listen, you just need to know your own heart and how bad we are. Because what would happen is you would schedule 2 more hours of stuff that doesn't matter. And then you would have 26 hours wasted. And you would feel like a bigger waste because more time was gone. Now, there are some of you who would be like, no, I just needed 2 more hours and I would have gotten it perfect, and everyone else in the room doesn't like you. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying that whenever somebody gets everything together and it all works out for them and they tell you how good things are, you're generally like, yeah, things are good for me too. Can't have a real conversation. And so this week, it's going to be fun. I'm going to talk from burnout to balance. How can we not be as stressed as we are? How can we schedule what matters most? And let's jump right in with some truth. Your schedule reveals what matters to you. Your calendar reveals your heart. And I know that's like, are you sure? Yeah. Your schedule reveals what matters most. And I know some of us are in a spot right now where it's a busy season, and we'll say it. It's in my notes later, but I want to go ahead and say it. Busy seasons are unavoidable. You can't help it. You got little kids, you're in a busy season. Your kid's still in diapers, you're in a busier season. You're just busy. You've got work and you've got that. You kids, busy. Take this. Okay, don't let a busy season become a busy lifestyle. Busy seasons are unavoidable. Busy lifestyles, that's our fault. And we've got to own that, and we've got to get away from that. And let me just say, if you talk to Tracy, she'll admit that this message really today is for me. I am in the middle of a busy lifestyle. And I'm repenting of it. I'm confessing it regularly. I've said this week more times than I've ever said in my life, I need margin. I kept thinking to myself this week, where's margin? Did anybody else think that or have any of those thoughts? I just want to feel good about it. All right, cool. There were two of you. That's good. Let's meet and talk later. All right, let's talk about Susan Coven. You don't know her, neither do I, but she said this. In 2013, she wrote in the Boston Globe, she's a doctor, in the past few years, I've observed an epidemic of sorts. Patient after patient suffering from the same condition. The symptoms of this condition include fatigue. Yeah? Yeah, fatigue. Been there? Yeah, I got that one. Irritability. Some of you are like, I'm not irritable. The person next to you will be like, yeah. Irritability. Insomnia. Fatigue and insomnia. How do those work? Then you got anxiety, headaches. Has he been looking at my journal? Right, no. Heartburn. I want to skip that one. That was just, nobody needs to know. Back pain, weight gain. And there are no blood tests or x-rays diagnostic of this condition, and yet it's easy to recognize. And here's what she said. The condition is excessive busyness. It's excessive busyness. This is a professional doctor who's saying this is what it's doing to people. It's destroying people physically. It's destroying people emotionally. It's destroying people spiritually. We're going to talk about it in a couple of weeks, but listen, you make the worst moral decisions of your life when you are super stressed and super tired. It just happens. It happens to me. When I get that way. That's when I make my worst decisions, and that's why we're doing this. Last week was potentially, was it 2 weeks ago? Now, see, that's the problem. Now, no margin. I can't remember. It was Thanksgiving week. I had that whole week off school, and it was like building up to it. I was just like, oh, glory. Hallelujah. This is going to be so much fun. I've got like a whole week off. I didn't know what to do with it, so I scheduled a bunch of stuff. Because that's what I do. And before it happened, like Tracy was constantly on me. She was reminding me, listen, stop. No, you can't schedule every day for something else. It's like, I know. I don't mean to. And so the week started, and Monday was great. I got study time in Monday, got everything done for the week that I needed to get done on Monday because I'd prepared previously a little bit. And so I got a bunch of stuff done Monday and had all the outline and stuff and everything. And I was like, this is good. It felt really, really good to have Monday under my belt. And then like Tuesday came and I'm just like, oh man, now I got all this other stuff And I remember there were like 2 times where I got it right. And I scheduled time with Tracy. We did something together. And then I scheduled a little bit of time with the boys. Even if it was going into the garage and playing little Nerf hoop basketball and beating them. That goal is not 10 feet. I'm a boss. All right? It was so easy. And here's what I'm saying, guys. I had a whole week, and I just got done preparing for a series called Margin. And it was so easy to screw it up. It's so easy to take advantage of the things that we have and to forget that this is an intentional, everyday decision. It's not going to happen by accident. We will not get our schedules right by accident. We're going to have to be serious about it. We're going to have to hate being too busy. Got to prioritize. You've got to schedule, when scheduling margin, and here's kind of like the big why behind it, is you've got to build space for the unexpected. You've got to build some space in for the unexpected. You've got to build some space in for rest. We have got to rest. I love it. I'm reading more and more, and there are some massive businesses out there, organizations out there, that allow their employees throughout the day a nap. Yeah, for real. Now, how many of you, just be honest for a second, okay? How many of you, if you walk by that cubicle and homeboy was taking a nap, you're just like, lazy bum? I'm slaving to the bone. I've got 27 projects going right now. And tomorrow I'm not even going to talk about what I've got. And you're just like, oh, how are they taking a nap? It's a 10-minute nap and it's allowed, but how do you? We're missing rest. We've got to schedule that in. And then we've got to schedule time for personal growth. You've got to schedule it. And here's why I say this. You got to schedule for the unexpected. You got to build space in. You got to build space in for rest. You've got to build space in for personal growth. Because here's what I've learned about the unexpected. It's not unexpected. It will happen. Unexpected things are going to happen to you today. They're going to happen to you tomorrow. And every day you're going to have potential for something unexpected to happen. But if you've built space in for rest and you've built space in for personal growth, then you've built space in for dealing with unexpected things. But most of us haven't rested, and so every time something unexpected comes in, we freak out. Somebody calls you because they need help. They've got a tire problem. They've got gas problems. They've got something going on at the house, and you're just like, I can't. I want to help, but I can't. I don't know what to do. The church says, hey, we need you to volunteer here. We need this for you. And you're just like, I can't. I got no space for that. And then you feel guilty because you weren't able to do the things that needed to be done over here because you didn't build space in for that. And what's going to happen is if we begin to schedule the most important, and part of that is a little bit of space, 10 minutes early somewhere. If you leave with enough time to get there 10 minutes early and somebody needs something, you've got 10 minutes. We've got to schedule that in so that we can do the things that need to be done, so that we can help people when they need it. Last week we said this, that when your stress increases, your margin decreases. I'm going to say it this way this week. When your stress decreases, when your margin increases. But margin will only increase when you prioritize it. And this is all introduction. Here in a second, like I'm building all this in, and we're going to go to the Bible here in a second and kind of like drop the hammer and be like, the Bible, this is what Paul says. This is why all of this matters. Let's continue to build this up, okay? Read and studying for this phrase, and it really got me. Busy is our means of achieving all of the things we want to achieve. I've got to stay busy because I'm trying to get some stuff done. But then the exact opposite of that happens. Busy is our means of achieving, but busy is also our excuse for not achieving. When somebody asks you if you've got time for this, nope. When somebody asks you why you didn't get that done, just too busy. Too busy. It's always the answer. I'm too busy. Our most common excuse for getting nothing done is I'm busy. We put off tasks because we are busy. Just let me ask you, any of you put off anything because you're too busy? You got other things doing? All right, good. We don't take a break or a getaway that we keep promising ourselves. We keep promising our spouse, but we can't. We're too busy. You don't make the appointment to get the lump checked out or to get the spot checked out because you're too busy. We're not going for the run. We're not going for the swim, the walk. We're not eating better because we're too busy. We're not having that conversation, that difficult conversation with your spouse, with a boyfriend, with a girlfriend, with your kids, with your boss, with a friend. You're not having those difficult conversations that need to happen. Why? Well, because we're too busy. We're not cutting our losses on a dead-end project and moving on to something else. We're not being ruthless with our time and saying no. Because no is kind of like, that's like a cuss word. You can't say no. You've got to say yes to everything or you're not a nice person. We are so busy doing lesser things that we miss out on the greater things. I'll get a book and start reading it, and I'm really excited because I build margin in for reading because reading helps me. So I build margin in for reading, and then my kids come in with a ball. Dad, you want to go play catch? No! Throw the book at them. No, yes. Go play catch. I'll read the book later because I'll have the book. I'm not always going to have them. And so I've got to schedule that. I've got to build that in. And then I've got to have that space so that I don't go crazy when I don't get to do the things that I thought were more important. Busy is our means of achieving, but it's also our excuse for not achieving. I have a question for you, and so I need your answer. Where is busy taking you? Where is your life headed? Where is this busyness getting us? If you aren't satisfied with where you are, consider making different choices. If you continue to make the same choices that got you where you are, you will never get anywhere else. You will not get somewhere else. I will not get somewhere else by making the same choices that I've always made. Those choices are what got us to where we are. And for some of us, that's like we're in crisis situations right now. We're in crisis mode. We've got to make some changes now because we can't sustain this life very long. And so we've got to make those changes. And it's so true. We've got to build margin. Last week we said, and it's in your notes, margin, what is margin? It's the amount available beyond what is necessary. You've got this is what you need, and here's how much you have. You've got a little bit of margin. Let's read the Bible. Go to Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5, start in verse 15. We're going to read through 17. It says, "Pay careful attention then to how you walk, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time, because the days are evil. So don't be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Pay careful attention then to how you walk." What's really cool about Ephesians 5 is if you go back and you look at a couple of verses up above that, you look at verse 8. Verse 8 says, "You were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. You've come out of the shadows, and now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the light results in all goodness, righteousness, and truth, discerning what is pleasing to the Lord." It's the same thing. Then he says in verse 15, "Pay careful attention to how you walk." Why? Because you used to be darkness, but now you're not. Don't walk like darkness. Pay careful attention to how you walk. Wise, not unwise. You've got to walk with wisdom. You can't walk with foolishness. And I love this. Well, what's the description for how to walk with wisdom? How do we walk with wisdom? You pay careful attention then to how you walk. Walk as wise, not as unwise, making the most of the what? Time. Make the most of the time. I do wish that it said make more time. But it doesn't. Make the most of the time. Guys, we're not getting any extra. You're not going to get any more. No matter how hard you try, you're not going to make more time. I used to say that all the time. I just got to make time for that. Anybody ever say that? I just got to make time for that. You're like, good luck. If you figure out how to make time, sell the recipe. You can't make more time. You've got to schedule time because you're not getting extra. Wise. Walk with wisdom. Wise. Wise. Is it wise? That's the important question. See, if somebody asks you to help move some furniture or something like that, okay? If somebody asks you to do that, that's not a sin to move furniture. I mean, unless it's not your furniture. It's not a bad thing to help people with things. So you don't ask, well, am I free? If I'm free, then I've got to go do it because it's the right thing to do. You don't ask that question like, well, is it wrong? Because if it's not wrong, then it must be right, and so I've got to go do it. Maybe the question that we should start asking really is this: is it wise? In light of, and on your notes it should say, I think it says this, maybe if it doesn't, write this down. In light of blank, is it wise? If it doesn't say that, I want you to get this because this really mattered. It helped me a lot. In light of blank, is it wise? And I'm not going to fill in the blank for you. I'm going to tell you what I filled the blank in with. When somebody asks me if I can do this or if I can do that, I need to start asking myself, in light of my marriage, is it wise? In light of my family, is it wise? In light of my relationship with God, is it wise? In light of my career, is it wise? In light of my future goals, is it wise? In light of the amount of money that we have, is this wise? See, because if we start to ask ourselves that question in regard to the thing that matters most, because what you do is you fill the blank in with, in light of my relationship with God, is this decision wise? When you start to ask that question, it changes things. You've got to fill in the blank with what's most important, and then you've got to weigh the option. In light of my relationship with Tracy, in light of my relationship with my wife, is this wise? Is it wise for me to schedule another meeting when I haven't scheduled a meeting with her? Is it wise for me to continually put off things that need attention because I'm busy doing something else? Is it wise? That's hard. So how do we schedule wisely? I'm going to give you a couple of notes. One, here are 3 reasons that we don't schedule margin, that I don't schedule margin. 3 reasons. And these reasons, when I read this kind of was like somebody being really mean to me and saying things I didn't want them to say to me. So I'm going to say them to you. 3 reasons that we don't schedule margin. 1, my stubborn unwillingness to take anything that I deem important off my to-do list. It's too important. I can't remove that. If I take that off, then I won't get this done. If I don't get that done, then I won't get that done. And if I don't get that done, then I don't know what. So I'm too stubborn to take what I think is important off my to-do list. And guys, listen, honestly, maybe we should try this. Here's an idea. I don't know. I just came up with it, so it's probably bad. What if we write down our to-do list and give it to our spouse? What's important on that? What if we write down our to-do list and give it to our kids? Ask them, what's important on that? Most of the time, my kids would be like, well, I mean, I'm not on it, so that kind of bothers me. A little bothered by that. You're laughing. Some of you are like, oh, yeah, dang. No, I'm not doing that. That's 1, my stubborn unwillingness to take stuff off my to-do list. Number 2, my lack of trust that God could work it out, that the fabric of the universe would not completely fall apart at the seams if I couldn't do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. I've got to stay busy because everything's going to fall apart if I don't get things done. Like you guys, you don't know how many things are riding on me. There's a lot of stuff that depends on Michael Stinnett getting things done. And what if that doesn't get done? Then things are going to fall apart. If I am thinking like that, I'm not trusting the God who created everything. And he wasn't in a hurry. He took a full 6 days and then took a break. Like, watch, I'm going to create everything. Day 1, created something. You know, he could have created everything in one day, right? He's God. But he spaced it out. Why? He got tired? No. He spaced it out on purpose because he wanted to take time. He wanted to build rest into the schedule so that whenever we're looking, we're not like, well, God got it all done in one day, so I can too. But that's how we think. Then here's another one. This one is the one that made me the most angry. So 1, I'm too stubborn. 2, I don't trust God enough. And then 3, my prideful refusal to hand off tasks to other people since they wouldn't do it right. You won't do that as good as me. So I've got to do everything. Some of you are like, yeah, that's, you need to stop preaching. So you're like, that's exactly it. I can't trust anybody to get anything else done. Like some of you are like, yeah. No, you won't trust anybody. There's a difference. You can't means that they're not able. Won't means that you just won't. There's a difference. The reason that we can't trust people is we don't give them stuff to trust them with. And I've got to do a better job of this. We've all got to do a better job of this. Why do we not schedule margin? Because we feel like we're the only ones who can get the things done that need to be done. And when we feel that way, we actually don't get anything done. So how do we schedule it then? Ready? This is going to be so good. Say no to many good things to say yes to the best things. I think it was, maybe it was Jessica, I'm not sure, gave my wife a book or talked to my wife a book about the best yes. I don't know if that was you or not. Sorry if that wasn't you. There's so many books out there written about this, about saying no to things. Watch. But we're not allowed to say no to stuff, right? Like, how many of you feel guilty when you say no to things? It's like somebody asks you for help and you're like, no, I can't. Oh, dang. Like, no, you really can't. But in saying no, you feel bad. And then here's what gets me, okay? Watch, I am the world's worst, okay? Like, we'll have a competition later and I'll be better than you at this. Every time I say no to somebody for something, I have to justify it. I have to give them like a 17-point thesis paper over why I can't do that thing. Like, I only needed 10 minutes of your help. No, I can't do that. Why not? Well, because see, if I do that, then I'm not able to do this, and I'm not able to do this, then world hunger is not going to get solved. And I need to be able to do. We stop worrying about justifying things and just say no. If the person that wanted your help is offended because you said no, you couldn't help, okay. Here's a Bible verse. Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. See, this age, the world, the pattern of the world is go, 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 do, never stop, never stop, never stop. Don't be conformed to the pattern of this world. You'll never, and this is what's good. Listen, take the reverse of that. Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. Why? So that we can know what God wants. If you conform to the pattern of this world, what will you not know? What God wants. And so if we begin to let culture tell us how to live, we will never figure out what God's plan is for us, what God's best is for us. And if we don't learn how to say no to some things so that we can say yes to things that matter. And some of you are struggling right now. You're like, I just can't say no. I can't. That's just mean. All right, we're practicing. It's perfectly okay to say no. Let's do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. No. See, some of you right there are just like, no, I can't. I can't. We're going to do it again. 1, 2, 3. No. All right, great. Watch. You can do this. Ready? Ready? Just be like, no, I can't do that. I was going to ask you, like, who wants to, somebody give me $1,000. No problem. No. No. No dice. All right. See, we can say it. We say yes to everything. We are so busy. How are you? I'm busy. How's it going? I'm busy. What's life like? Busy. What are you up to? Busy. I said this last Sunday, I talked about stopping and taking a little bit of time to talk to somebody when you ask how they are. And as I was walking by one of the offices this morning, I thought, hey, how are you? And he replied like, good. And I just kept on walking, and my son's like, Dad, aren't you going to stop and talk? It's like, oh, you've been listening. Uh-oh. So, yeah, so I will. Yeah, so I went back and talked to him for a little bit. Got to have a conversation. See, you have to say no to the things that won't get you to the destination you want to go. You've got to say no to things that aren't going to get you where you want to end up. And you've got to make that decision. We've been saying this all year. Your decisions will determine your direction. And your direction will determine your destination. It's just, that's the way it is. So many people are missing out on God's best because of busyness. And I've been in church for a while. I've been on staff at multiple places, and I remember sitting in staff meetings and you'd complain about things and this or that. And I've learned that it's not really lack of commitment that is the biggest problem in church, and people being committed and people volunteering and people serving. Lack of commitment might not be the biggest issue. What if it's over-commitment? What if I'm too committed, but I'm too committed to too many other things? And so I'm not able to commit to the things that actually matter more. It's not lack of commitment. We've misjudged. We've thought about it wrongly. And so we are overcommitted and underproductive. We're overcommitted and we are underproductive. Anybody get like, I mean, some of you, for me, this was just like, we don't have time for what matters. Any of you ever say that? Man, that's hogwash. I don't understand that phrase, but I get it. I think I know it. We have time for what we choose to have time for. We have time for the things that are most important to us. What does our schedule say about our hearts? We choose how we spend our time. We choose how we spend our time. And we cannot let a busy season become a busy lifestyle. Because when we get pressed, when we get stressed, some of the most important things in our life get squeezed out of us when we have no margin. Busy at work, you bring that home and you get frustrated with your family. Busy in this and you bring that home and you get frustrated at your kids. You get stressed at home, you take that with you into work. You get stressed at home, you take that with you to the church service. And so you're like trying to smile and say hi, like everything's all right, like you didn't just get finished yelling at each other in the car. You're trying to pretend that everything's okay. We get busy, we get overwhelmed, we get anxious, we miss out, and here are the two key things that are probably missing that would help solve some of this. So I want to give you a solution, and here it is. The two things that matter most that are probably missing is one, intimate time with God. The first thing to get squeezed out of our schedule is that daily, regular time with God. And some of you are like, yeah, he right. I've been meaning to do that and hadn't done that, and I hadn't done that. See, we push out intimate time with God. But now we'll have some time, like some of us be like, well, man, I got my daily Bible verse. Bam! The daily Bible verse is awesome. I love daily Bible verse. But if you're like super excited because you got a notification on your phone that reminded you that there was a Bible verse of the day, if that's like your intimate time with God, you're not very intimate with God. It's like I rolled across my contacts and saw my wife's name and thought, oh, I love her. That's not intimate time with my wife. She didn't feel anything from that. It's like, I touched your name on my phone, sweetie. Did you get like a little tingle? No, but that's how we imagine it's going to work. Matthew 6:33, Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all this other stuff will be added unto you. Seek first the kingdom of God. I am not a wake up early guy. I don't wake up early and spend a lot of time praying. I don't wake up early and spend a lot of time reading my Bible. I just don't do that because generally speaking, when I wake up, it's time to get ready so that I can leave. But I schedule throughout the day times where I'm going to build in some reading time here. I'm going to listen to a good podcast when I'm in my vehicle. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to read some of this Bible. I'm going to do that throughout the day because I have it scheduled in. But I'm not an early morning guy. And so when it says seek first, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should do that very first thing. But what I think it actually means there is like first priority, as in this is the most important thing. I don't think God's thinking, man, I really wish that Tommy would have woken up earlier this morning and read the Bible and gotten with me. I think it's just that he wants you to do it. So don't focus on the when, focus on do it. You've got to get that intimate time with God. Your schedule will never get right if you don't schedule some intimate time, one-on-one with God. It won't happen. And then number 2, intentional times of rest. You've got to schedule some intimate time with God. And then you've got to schedule some intentional times of rest. I looked up the word vacation just for fun because I'm like, man, I know what vacation means. Everybody knows what vacation means. But I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. I wanted to know, well, what's the origin of the word vacation? And it's one of them Latin words. And it's like V-A-C-A-R-E. And I want to be like vacari or something like that. But that's probably not it, right? And so it's just vacation. And the original meaning of this word vacation is this. It's real simple. To be unoccupied. I love it. I've never been on vacation. Tracy, we've got to take a vacation. I'm going to get one later today. I'm going to go and be unoccupied for like 15 minutes somewhere. Be unoccupied. Man, every time we go on vacation, that's the furthest from the truth. Like vacation, I'm the most occupied that I've ever been because we got to schedule every stinking thing that we can possibly squeeze into the hours in the day. My kids got to remember this stuff. We got to make memories. The only memory they got was me dragging them across the stuff. It's like, I got a memory, Dad. I got scars on my knees. Vacation was not as much fun as you remember, Dad. But it's like vacation, to be unoccupied, to take a vacation, to schedule intentional times of rest. Psalm 46:10, super common. We see it all over the place. Man, it's on all kinds of plaques and picture frames and all this stuff. Be still and know that I am God. Like that's like, be still and know that I am God. And we love that verse, but I wanted to do a little bit of context. And so we're going to read the entire 46th Psalm. Ready? Let's get some context. God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is always found in times of trouble. I love it. Always found in times of trouble. You want to find God? Get into some trouble. Be careful on your interpretation of what I said. But He's always found in trouble. When things are hard and when life is a mess and there is chaos, you will find God. But you will have to look hard. Because that, trust me, when you're in trouble, it does not look like God is around. And you got to find Him. Therefore, watch, because God is our refuge and our strength and He's always there, therefore, we will not be afraid. Though the earth trembles and the mountains topple into the depths of the sea, you sure you won't be afraid? Though the earth trembles and though the mountains are crumbling down into the sea, we will not be afraid. Are you sure? Watch. Though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with its turmoil, Selah, which means pause, take a breath. How many of you, the earth does not have to tremble and the mountains do not have to topple and the waters do not have to roar and foam and mountains do not have to quake in order for you to think life is a little bit out of control? And you start to get scared that you'll never be able to accomplish everything you need to accomplish. You start to get scared that you're not going to be able to make it. Watch. There is a river. Its streams delight the city of God, the holy dwelling place of the Most High. God is within her. She will not be toppled. That's good. God will help her when the morning dawns. Nations rage. Kingdoms topple. The earth melts when He lifts His voice. This is the God that is our refuge and our strength. The earth melts when He lifts His voice. Oh, you got struggles going on? Your schedule's chaotic? Pray and let God lift His voice to your schedule and watch it melt. This is so much fun. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. Selah, pause, take a breath. Come, see the works of the Lord. Right? Like any of you are like, come see what God's doing. This is who brings devastation on the earth. He makes wars cease throughout the earth. He shatters bows and cuts spears to pieces. He burns up the chariots. Now, but He can only do that with Michael Stinnett's help. No, it's not in there. He can only do that with Joshua. He can only do that with Jim. He can only do that with Tracy. He can only do that if Jared says yes. No. He does these things. It does not require anything of me. And that's why verse 10 is so important. Look at this translation of verse 10. Stop your fighting and know that I am God, exalted among the nations, exalted on the earth. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. Listen, be still and know that I am God does not mean just sit there and don't do anything. It means stop trying to do everything because you can't. Be still. Pause. Stop fighting. Let God do what God does. We've got to do what we're doing. We take responsibility for our part and we trust Him with His. Man, when I went in and read the entire psalm, and that's not the first time I've read the 46th psalm, but it's the first time that I went in to look at why does verse 10 say what it does. It changed everything. It changed everything. Let me close here. We've got to stop trying to do it all ourselves. God is fighting for us. And if you believe that you have to fight for God, that's idolatry. God's not waiting on me to fight for Him. He's not waiting on me to work for Him. He's not needing any of that. He has chosen to use me to accomplish His purposes. He has chosen to use you and you and you to accomplish His purposes. But we've got to stop trying to do everything. So last week we said this, it's time for a Come to Jesus meeting. The American Psychological Association Stress in America 2010 report found this. In general, Americans recognize that their stress levels remain high and exceed what they consider to be healthy. Adults seem to understand the importance of healthy behaviors like managing their stress levels, eating right, getting enough sleep and exercise, but they report experiencing challenges practicing these healthy behaviors. Really? They didn't ask me, I could have told them. They report being too busy as a primary barrier preventing them from better managing their stress. I'm too busy to manage my stress. I don't have any margin built in. Well, time for a Come to Jesus meeting. Matthew 11:28, he says, "Come to me. Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened. Come to me, all of you who are so stressed out, you're so stretched out that you have nowhere, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to handle it. Come to me, all of you who are struggling with every day, who are struggling with your schedules and you're overwhelmed by them. Come to me. And I will give you what? I will give you rest." We were never intended to accomplish everything. That's not the way that it works. That wasn't God's ultimate plan. He did not make humans because He couldn't get stuff done. It's time to come to Jesus.